Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are taking a massive, high-energy leap into what is literally one of the most legendary, sprawling, and influential epic fantasy universes ever created, Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. Now, whether you're completely new to this universe or you're a returning fan looking to kind of synthesize its massive lore, you are exactly in the right place. We're going to explore this story not just as your standard adventure, but as a seriously deep philosophical dive into destiny, leadership, and the cyclical nature of history. Just a quick heads up before we get going, this is a spoiler-aware dive, and we'll be really focusing on the foundations laid out in the first book, The Eye of the World, and how those foundations just ripple outward across the whole series. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass. Actually, let me read the whole thing. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. Now, what's really interesting about this slide, and this iconic quote, is how it instantly hooks us on the series' core philosophical concept. I'm talking about cyclical history. In this universe, time isn't a straight line. It's a wheel. There are literally no ultimate beginnings or endings, just the endless turning of ages. So, history repeats itself. And those stories we consider myths today, well, they might just be faded memories of a past age, or even prophecies of an age yet to come. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We've got a lot of ground to cover, starting with the turning of the wheel, our Tolkien-esque beginnings, and the burden of destiny. After that, we'll unpack magic, madness, and balance, explore a world of shades, and wrap it all up with the pattern's masterweavers. Let's get into it. All right, Section 1, the turning of the wheel, a cosmic loon. So when we're looking at how this universe is actually built, it's kind of fascinating to start at the absolute top. Outside of time and space, you've got these two fundamental entities. There's the creator, who built reality, and the Dark One, this totally malicious entity of pure chaos who just wants to break free from his prison and destroy the whole shebang. Now think of this reality as a massive, multidimensional tapestry called the Pattern. The Wheel of Time, which has these 7 spokes representing 7 distinct ages, acts as the cosmic loom. It's constantly weaving this tapestry, and it uses the lives of every single person as its threads. It's pretty wild, and here is a real mind-bending detail for you. Because time is cyclical, it's actually heavily hinted throughout the lore that the mythical first age in this fictional universe, it's actually our real modern world. So their myths are echoes of our reality, and vice versa. How cool is that? Moving right along to Section 2, a Tolkien-esque beginning, from the Shire to the Two Rivers. So Robert Jordan actually deliberately started his epic with this comforting, familiar feel. It's really a cozy homage to Tolkien's Shire, right before he massively expands the scope. We kick things off in this incredibly secluded backwater village called Emmonsfield, in a region known as the Two Rivers. And here we meet 5 totally ordinary youths. You've got Rand the shepherd, Matt the prankster, Perrin the thoughtful blacksmith, Egwene d'Apprentice, and Nynaeve, who's the fiery young village wisdom. Their peaceful, everyday lives are absolutely shattered when these beastly, monstrous creatures called Trollocs attack their home. So, forced to flee alongside this mysterious, magic-wielding woman named Moraine, these incredibly relatable villagers are just violently thrust into a much larger, unimaginable world. And this brilliantly illustrates the core divergence between Tolkien and Jordan. In The Lord of the Rings, the ultimate theme is really about the renunciation of power, right? Frodo has to carry this corrupting ring to a volcano and destroy it to save the world. But Jordan? He subverts this entirely. No way around it. In The Wheel of Time, the prophesied hero must actually wield a magic that will inevitably drive him completely insane. Think about that for a second. To save the world, the hero literally has to use the very thing that is destroying his own mind. It's a massive burden. Which brings us right to Section 3, the burden of destiny. Free will versus fate. The real driving force of the narrative here is an ancient prophecy, and it predicts the return of the Dragon Reborn. This is a savior who's going to either save humanity or just break the world all over again. And suddenly, 3 of our villagers, Rand, Matt, and Perrin, are revealed to be what the lore calls Ta'veren. Now, this is a really vital concept. A Ta'veren is someone chosen by the wheel itself to correct the pattern when it's out of balance. Because they're basically focal points of reality, they literally bend probability and the lives of everyone around them to fit their destiny. It's like gravity. And this introduces super deep philosophical tension to the whole story. I mean, how much free will do our heroes actually have? And how much are they simply tools just being forced along a path by the turning of the wheel? Let's look at Section 4, magic, madness, and balance. The One Power. To really understand why the Dragon Reborn is so feared by everyone, we have to look at the magic system. The magic driving this world is called the One Power, and it is strictly, fundamentally divided by gender. You have these two halves, Saidin, which is the male half, and Saidar, the female half. Now, back during the ancient war of power in the previous age, the original dragon led this really desperate strike to seal the Dark One away. But in retaliation, the Dark One tainted Saidin. From that exact moment on, any man who channeled the One Power was doomed to go violently, catastrophically insane. And this resulted in an event called the Breaking of the World, where mad male channelers literally reshaped continents, raised mountains, and ended civilization as they knew it. 3,500, let that sink in. That is how many years have passed since the breaking of the world. For 3.5 millennia, male channelers have been completely terrified of themselves and relentlessly hunted by society. And because only women can safely wield the One Power using Saidar, they formed this incredibly powerful organization called the Aes Sedai. This fundamentally shaped the world into a matriarchal political landscape. Female magic users hold the strings of global power, while men who can channel, well, they're basically seen as walking weapons of mass destruction. Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, A World of Shades. Moral complexity. Now, if you come into this expecting pure good versus pure evil, you're not going to find it here. When we look at the complex societies in the source material, we see how Robert Jordan introduces these incredibly distinct, historically authentic cultures that constantly challenge our heroes' worldviews. For instance, they encounter the Aiel. This is a fierce, desert-dwelling warrior society with totally alien traditions, stuff like strict gender divisions in their warrior societies and the practice of polygamy. Later on, they face the Shan-Shan, this invading empire from across the ocean who firmly believe they are the rightful rulers of the world, and they actually enslave magic users. It's intense. These cultures completely demystify the other and force the reader to grapple with completely different moral frameworks. So the crucial point here is that our heroes don't just face mindless monsters. They have to navigate an absolute maze of gray factions. Take the Aes Sedai. Sure, they oppose the Dark One, but they are incredibly ruthless, manipulative guides who often view the heroes as mere pawns on a chessboard. Then you have the Children of the Light. They're this independent military organization so fanatically devoted to finding evil that they act as overzealous witch hunters, and they often end up hurting the innocent. And honestly, even the villains, the Forsaken, aren't just beastly monsters. They are corrupted, immortal elites from the Age of Legends, carrying all their own petty ambitions and very human flaws. Finally, we arrive at Section 6, The Pattern's Master Weavers, the Meta Legacy. 2,700. No, seriously, that is the mind-blowing number of distinctly named characters in this epic. 2,700. Spanning 14 main books, a prequel, and over 4 million words, this series boasts 148 different point-of-view characters. It is an absolute masterclass in slow-burn plotting, long-term foreshadowing, and intricate world-building. Stuff that is set up early on pays off brilliantly over thousands of pages. Let's move to the real-world timeline and see how this builds. The Eye of the World was published back in 1990, and it immediately cemented its status as a massive influence on modern fantasy. Tragically, though, Robert Jordan passed away in 2007, before he could finish the final volumes. But in this really beautiful passing of the torch, fellow fantasy master Brandon Sanderson stepped in. Using Jordan's extensive notes and working super closely with Jordan's widow and editor Harriet McDougall, Sanderson seamlessly completed the epic. He published the final book in 2013, ensuring that the wheels turning had an incredibly satisfying conclusion. You know, the stakes of this entire 14-book journey are just perfectly encapsulated by this one chilling prophecy, uttered right as the Dragon Reborn enters the world. He is born again. I feel him. The dragon takes his first breath on the slopes of Dragon Mount. Oh man, that singular moment just hangs over the entire narrative. It brings such an immense emotional weight. As a reader, you really feel the terror, the hope, and the absolutely incredible burden placed on what was just a simple farm boy who is now destined to face a sentient force of evil. And so we'll wrap up our explainer today with this provocative thought to leave you pondering. Through all of its magic, all the politics, and the battles, the Wheel of Time constantly asks us, if history is a wheel that endlessly repeats, how much of your life is actually your own free choice, and how much is just the turning of an age? It's a huge question, right? One that echoes through every single chapter. And it's exactly why this story continues to captivate millions of readers. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the pattern today, and I really hope this leaves you eager to experience this majestic world for yourselves.